All right, welcome to the show. ESPN's senior NFL insider, Adam Schefter, host of the Adam Schefter podcast. Today is Wednesday. We are just about a week away from the NFL 2025 draft. So grateful to get some time with you because we know you're a busy man. And off the air, we were actually talking about a fun little prank that happened to you at the Masters. Aaron Rodgers, the breaking news, what ended up happening? Tell us the situation.
Well, Aaron, when you go to the Masters, you know that you can't have your phone. It's just the way that it works and operates down there. So you leave your phone behind, and I never do that. But in this particular case, when you're at the Masters, you know that you can't have your phone. It's the one thing that gives you pause about going. I made the bold decision to attend 2 days this year. So there were 2 days when I was without my phone. And honestly, the patrons at Augusta National are so polite and gracious and nice and just pleasant, really. I must have met 500 people.
Wow.
And 499 people were incredible. But on Friday, and I happened to take my cousin who just turned 65 last week. He just retired from his medical practice after 40 years. And as a gift for him retiring as a doctor and being 65, he had always wanted to go to the Masters. I took him Friday. We're walking around. It was in the afternoon, and I see I would say, some 20-something-year-old kid. Maybe he was 18, maybe he was 22, but that general age, charges at me and comes up. He's like, "Did you hear about that humongous NFL trade?" And I go, "No." And when he said it, my heart dropped into my stomach because obviously a humongous NFL trade, and I'm on the course and I don't have my phone and I don't have any access to any information outside. That's not a comfortable feeling. And I go, "No, what trade?" And he goes, "I'm just joking." And I was like, oh, okay. And so I turned to my cousin who was there, what do you think? He said, "That was over the top." Like the guy was, and it is what it is. It was one unfortunate incident. And
Yeah. It's a respectful time. You don't have your phone, and to get that kind of news with Aaron Rodgers lingering, not knowing what's going on, it certainly makes for an interesting story because it's been all over the news that Adam Schefter had that situation happen at the Masters. But by the way, what a great experience. I listened to your podcast yesterday. I could see you as a golf insider as well.
I would one day.
One day.
It's something that I have some aspirations of doing, and we'll see how that works out. It's funny because, that story did get a little bit of traction, a little bit of play. I got a text from one of the caddies of one of the players on the tour that I have some interaction with last night. He's like, "You were there and you didn't say hello to me?" I'm like, "I was there. I was on the fourth hole with you, and I was standing about 6 feet from you, but I tried to be respectful to your partner, and I didn't want to shout out your name or anything like that. And I was trying to get your attention, but I didn't get your attention. So sorry I missed you."
I mean, it's amazing because golf and football, they couldn't be more opposite sports in a lot of ways. You're one-on-one. It's a very traditional, quiet sport. And then football, it's absolutely mayhem. And being that we have the draft just a few days away, essentially, let's get into it because I want to be mindful of your time. And thank you again for making time for us. We know this is like one of the busiest times of the year for you. The Rams have also been very busy this offseason, especially during free agency, making a lot of interesting picks, getting rid of Cooper Kupp, bringing on Devontae Adams. I'm assuming you like a lot of these moves that the Rams have done after winning the NFC West. Now rumors swirling, which is very interesting, at number 26, potentially a quarterback. How does that sit with you? Because Father Time is undefeated. Stafford is 37 years old. We know the Rams need to look for his heir apparent. Do they do it this year?
Oh, I think you absolutely look. While you have the chance, you look. I'm not so sure that they're going to go ahead and do it in round one. It would depend on who's there, what the value is. I think it's certainly going to be an option for them. Me personally, I would be a little bit more surprised if they went that direction in round one. It doesn't mean they can't, but I think if the pick comes in on Thursday night in Green Bay and it's a quarterback at 27, that would surprise me more than it wouldn't, but it certainly is going to be an option for them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have other needs, certainly at the cornerback position, shoring up that young defense that made an impressive debut with Aaron Donald retiring last year. We were all kind of wondering what that defense was going to look like. And that's the other thing that Les Snead does. In your interpretation, Adam, what does Les Snead look for in terms of characteristics? Because forget the combine, forget all of those things. What do you think it is that he does so well?
Well, they've done a great job of identifying talent, and it's amazing because their defense, a lot of people thought would fall off dramatically without Aaron Donald, and instead it seemed to thrive. Like it was almost like you lose one of the greatest defensive players in NFL history, and you don't lose a step on defense, and they just kind of picked up right where there was, and that's a credit to Les Snead and the rest of the front office that does a great job. Now, what he's looking for exactly, I don't know. They have their own process. They don't do top 30 visits. They're not having players come into Los Angeles. They do go out and meet on the road with them, as they're doing this week with Jalen Milroe, the Alabama quarterback. So they have their own process, and whatever that is, that's different. I've never been a part of it other than to say you could look at them and what they've done and say that they've been enormously successful. They won a Super Bowl. They've rebuilt a team without having to step back. They've done a great job, and the roster right now is very strong. And I would say right now, going into the season, they are the favorites in the NFC West.
Yeah. Well, and that's the tricky thing that's been interesting to watch, as like you said, Aaron Donald is done and they have to rebuild and think about the future. But now they need to think about winning now, right? So do you feel like it's do you feel like the storyline for the Rams, as it was last year, is building and the toughness of having the challenge of having to think about building now, winning now, and then also keeping in mind the future and stacking for the future? That seems like it's a challenging thing to do for the GM, having to sort of navigate where to transition.
That's what they've done, though. Like everything that they've taken on, they've done it pretty successfully. It would be hard to argue. So these are some of the natural transitions that they're making, Aaron. And again, it's hard to argue against the success that they've had. They've been tremendous at it.
Yeah, I think it's that's the hardest thing that I think when it comes to swinging. Les Snead's done a very good job at sort of planning for the future, while also putting together a win now roster. Obviously, Davante Adams signifies that. One of the other things on that same topic is Kyren Williams. What do they do with Kyren Williams? There's all this talk about, potentially giving him an extension. He's on his last year of his rookie deal. Running back market with a plethora of options, certainly in the draft, right? You would say this is a more running back heavy draft. And also the running back market is different with guys like Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. You have a guy like Kyren Williams who may not be necessarily in that hierarchy. What do you think the Rams should do in terms of an extension?
Well, they love Kyren Williams, and he's been tremendous. And they drafted a running back high last year in Blake Corum, and it is an incredibly deep draft this year, and they could add another one. I still think that they're going to look to do a deal with Kyren. Like, that's somebody that they feel so strongly about. He's a part of the fabric of their team. He's got great character. He's a great player. There's a deal there to be had for Kyren Williams. I don't think that you're in the market of picking, grooming, investing in players, and then letting them walk, especially when they're as well-liked and respected as Kyren Williams is. So to me, they'll try to figure out something with him. Is it going to be a top-of-the-market running back deal? No, I don't expect that, but I expect a good look, they're smart. They'll figure out a deal that works for both sides, where Kyren's making the money that he should, where they're able to pay off a deal like that. I would think that would be a deal that both sides will work to figure out.
I mean, it's an interesting situation. That's why the Rams have been one of the most unique, to me, storylines. I know I'm biased because I cover them, but even in the division, let's take a little peek at the NFC West. Brock Purdy, okay, he's up for his extension. Is this a guy that deserves to be in the $15 million a year discussion, especially with the salary cap issues that the Niners are having? Your crystal ball, what do you think? Do you think the Niners are going to give him that much?
Well, I think that, again, like Kyren Williams, they're going to make him an offer that they believe is fair. It probably will not be what Brock Purdy is looking for, and it's up to the two sides to figure out if there's a common ground that they can meet at to make things happen. Brock Purdy is under contract this year for $5.1 million. They could franchise him next year for $41. They could franchise him the year after that for $52. They control his rights for the next 3 years for $97+ million. So if you're Brock Purdy, what number did you use, Erin? And what number do you want as Brock Purdy's agent? What do you want? You tell
Around
me.
50?
50? Well, yeah, that's I think we can figure out something. 50 a year? Yes, we can get that done. 50 a year, 3 years, that's 3 years, $150 million for the next 3 years, where they have his rights for 3 years and $97+ million. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. But again, Brock Purdy has earned himself a new contract, and he's outplayed his current deal, and he's been one of the best bargains, if not the single best bargain in the National Football League. It's up to both sides to figure out what's going to be fair and doable in the future. And that's what they have been and will continue to be talking about. I think they'll figure out something. I think it'll take a little while, but I think eventually it's in both sides' best interest to get the deal done.
I loved what you said yesterday on the Adam Schefter podcast. Of course, the conversation's still swirling around Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to sign? Is he not going to sign? I'm sure there's nothing new in terms of developments from yesterday, which, by the way, you've got to listen to the Adam Schefter podcast. It's great. You guys are great on it. What do you make of this, though? Does this remind you of any other quarterback in the past? Like, what is going on with Aaron Rodgers? We, the media, we love to talk about it. We want to say the darkness retreat, all of that stuff. But really, at the end of the day, don't you think, because you made a great point on your show yesterday, that if he wants to play in Pittsburgh with new teammates, with new receivers, and a new offense, you got to go to day one of the offseason program? Do you feel like he would be rubbing people the wrong way, aka Mike Tomlin, in the event that doesn't seem like he's being very flippant? I know you can't really say much, but how do you perceive this? This feels sort of unique.
Well, we haven't seen something like this since Aaron Rodgers was with the Packers and they were trying to trade him to the Jets. And maybe we hadn't seen something like this before until Brett Favre went from Green Bay to the Jets to the Vikings. So maybe it's something with these Packers quarterbacks in their veteran years trying to find the perfect landing spot. So, look, this sort of thing happens all the time, and it's Aaron Rodgers' prerogative to do what he wants, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting for an answer. And I just think a natural spot is the draft is next week. The Steelers' offseason program starts next week. You would think that would be a natural time to decide, yes, I am going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, or no, I'm not going to sign with the Pitt. It would seem rather cut and dry to me, the way I think, but I don't think the way he thinks. He thinks differently than all of us. So I don't know what he's going to decide. And guess what? Neither do the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah.
Well, even Ben Roethlisberger said, hey, Aaron, by Tuesday on his own show, he said, by Tuesday, let the Steelers know. It just seems like the right thing to do. But, at the end of the day, I get it. No one really knows what's going on with Aaron Rodgers except for maybe his agent and his meditation teacher.
I don't think they know.
Oh, they don't? Really?
I think Aaron Rodgers knows. This is a one-man show.
This is a one-man show. Well, listen, Adam Schefter, we're so grateful we were even able to get this time right before one of the busiest times in the NFL draft.
I've been working with Sanofi to make people aware to get screened for type 1 diabetes. My wife is type 1 diabetic, so it's been a big deal for us to have people screened for type 1 diabetes because we just think getting out in front of it is important. So it's important for people to talk to their doctors about screening for type 1. They get information from their doctors. But I give a lot of time away. I give money away to foundations. But I don't have an Adam Schefter Foundation. But maybe I need to launch one now that you've already begun to publicize it.
Maybe next year at the Masters, you can do it. That would be amazing. Adam Schefter, thank you again. We really appreciate it. Check out the Adam Schefter podcast. I listened to it yesterday. It's a great, great listen. Good luck at the draft next week. And thank you again for the time. We appreciate it.
Erin, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Time to get back to some of these messages.
There you go. Thanks.